Dan here, going to do a tasting of 3 beers. One is a regular beer, a wee heavy. The other 2 are sour beers. One of the sour beers is a soured version of the wee heavy, and the other sour beer is the Oud Bruin that I brewed about 8 months ago out of the Brewing Classic Styles book. First up is the wee heavy. This is the Dirty Bastard clone off of Homebrew Talk. It's a pretty bold wee heavy. I put an oak spiral in there, light American oak spiral. It has a pound of crystal 120. Let's get the nose on it. It's got a very sweet, bready, caramelly aroma to it. You pick up a little bit on the vanilla tannins as well from the oak. Smells pretty good. This is keg now, about 4 or 5 months old. Low carbonation on the PSI. And the taste follows the nose a little pretty well. Definitely has that bready, rich caramel flavor, a little bit raisiny, a little bit figgy. You also get some vanilla tannins from the oak spirals. You get a bit of possibly a bacony flavor as well, which is interesting because I didn't use any smoked malts, but I'll come back to that. Next up is the soured version of that same beer. It's quite a bit lighter in color and clearer as well. This has a nice, almost reddish amber, deep, rich amber color to it, whereas the other one is just brown with a little bit of red hues around the edges. So let's get a nose on this one. Yeah, already sour smelling. This is 2.5 months old. It is the exact same recipe, except I pitched it on my sour yeast cake that's over 2 years old. The same one that created my Solera beer, for which I was on Homebrew, or on Basic Brewing. So this is only 2.5 months old. We get a very nice, pleasant, soft, sour, tart smell to it. Sweet cherries, possibly a little bit of the vanilla from oak that I put in there as well. It's already very tart, very sour. Not as sour as my Solera is, but it's definitely puckering. You get a lot of the cherry flavors in there, perhaps a little bit of a raspberry, maybe even a little bit of a sweet orange. You don't get a whole lot of the malt. It's there a little bit of a breadiness, a little bit of a caramel, but it's very, very subdued. Not as much as I was hoping, actually. I was hoping to get more of a malt backbone to kind of pair along with that sour flavor. So already 2.5 months old and already very sour. Okay, so next up is the Oud Bruin I brewed about 8 months ago. This is the recipe out of Brewing Classic Styles, Jamel Zanishev and John Palmer. Exactly their recipe. I pitched the lactobacillus, Y yeast lactobacillus at the same time as the yeast. Let it ferment for about 2 months and then bottled it for about 6. This particular bottle's been in the fridge for about 3 weeks now. Let's get an aroma. Really light phenolic, like Belgian phenolic kind of aroma. Like peach, apricot, really light aromas there. A little bit of breadiness from the malt. A little bit of toastiness as well. Let's get the flavor. It's very light and almost kind of a refreshing, very, very slightly tart, very, very slight tartness. Not much at all. I would definitely not call it sour. It's got kind of a nice, kind of follows the nose, like an apricot, lighter stone fruit kind of a sweet flavor, very, very light and refreshing. Getting a little bit of a breadiness, more caramel than the other beer. than the other sour beer anyway. A little bit of peach and apricot. Again, not very sour. I probably won't be brewing this method anymore. By that I mean pitching bacteria with Saccharomyces at the same time, or Lactobacillus afterwards. It just doesn't get the beer very sour. I'm going to do some blending between these three beers, and we'll do the tasting notes on that as well. Okay, so for the first blend, it's the Wee Heavy with the Wee Heavy Soured. The idea that I'm going for is I want it to be sour, but I also want it to be malty at the same time. I want to be able to taste the caramel and the breadiness, the toastiness. Even a little bit of roastiness would be nice as well. So I did about a 50-50, just an eyeball blend. It's probably not going to taste the same if it's aged blend, but we'll just see how it turns out. So the aroma is kind of weird. You get just a touch of that tart cherryness along with the breadiness, but it comes off as almost like a smelly feet kind of a smell. It doesn't really go well together, at least in the glass. That would probably change a lot if it was aged for a certain amount of time. Let's give it the taste. Yeah, see, that's more what I was going for. You get the yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so sometimes the aftertaste sneaks up on you. So you get a tart sourness, the cherries, kind of the sour fruit flavors up front, and then it turns right into a real nice toasty bread, like whole grain toasty, the crust of the bread. And then tartness in the back, that's what caught me off guard, really dried it out. So that's actually a pretty good blend. So I might try to work on doing that for this beer. But we're going to try blending the two other sours together. The one that didn't turn out so good, didn't turn out, well, it turned out good, but it's not very sour. The one from Brewing Classic Styles, and we'll blend that with the more sour 2.5-month old brown ale that I pitched on my 2-year-old sour yeast cake. Okay, here's the blend of the two sour beers together. Now, one other note I wanted to make on the Brewing Classic Styles version: it tastes to me like a lot of young sour beers, or I don't know if they're young or not, but sour beers that I get commercially that aren't that sour. Just have that light tartness, you know, kind of fruity, refreshing. They're pretty good, but they don't have that sour depth to them. They don't have the sour cherry, the, you know, the raspberry, the those real sour, you know, get you right here on the chin. So we blended the two together, and we'll see how this goes. This one smells really good because the Brewing Classic Styles beer had a very refreshing kind of smell to it, and you get that in this, but you also get the lactic sour smell from the sour beer. And it comes off very nice, actually. It comes off as kind of a creamy vanilla cherry, a very light sour cherry with kind of this light vanilla aroma to it. It's quite nice, actually. Here we go. Yeah, the taste is a little bit flabby. It's definitely more sour, but the Brewing Classic Styles Oud Bruin isn't really giving it much. It's just kind of watering it down, giving it maybe that slight little fruity flavor to it, but it's watering down the sourness, not really adding any complexity to it. So I probably wouldn't blend. I wish I had the aroma from this blend with the taste of the other blend, but you know, things don't always work out like that when it comes to sour brewing. So that is my update for now, guys, and cheers, thanks for watching.